Welcome to Disrupting the Drift. I am Baron Baptiste. This is a show for disrupting the status quo in thinking, the status quo in ways of acting, the drifting along in life where you just get more of the same of what you don't want. So the intent here in being disruptive, disrupting the drift, is to alter what's possible for you and your life and ways of living that are fulfilling some higher purpose. David Masters, welcome.
Great
Welcome.
to
How you doing,
great to
man?
be here. Fantastic. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought we'd talk about preparedness in life. The world, I think there's a lot of fear in the world right now around what could happen. We're edging toward a world war. Looks like moving into a world war. We're in an economic bubble right now in the United States that, and globally really, that is having impact on people. So, and some right now more than others. There's the mental health kind of crisis that like we've never seen before in my lifetime anyhow. The levels of mental health and suicide, depression, anxiety. uh, People are there's a lot of fear in the world, there's a lot of anger in the world, there's a lot of division in the world. And what is it? The question here that I thought you and I could speak to is, what is it to be prepared? What is it to be prepared for anything? And I don't know that we'll answer all of that in this one podcast. And I think that it's something to begin scratching the surface of and get some clarity around, well, what is it to be prepared? A lot of people are just drifting along like life as usual, that everything's fine and I'm just going to keep my attention on the positive. Nothing wrong with keeping your attention on the positive. And though, how about being prepared for anything in life? Not just the good things, but being prepared in in a way that whatever comes at you in life, you don't lose yourself. You don't lose your center. You don't lose your soul, and that you are empowered to take on and deal with whatever you need to deal with moment to moment. What do you see, David?
There's two things that instantly come to mind. One was spoken by Confucius. He said, "Success depends upon previous preparation, and without such preparation, there is sure to be failure." So let's go back to the core of this idea, which is, what kind of person are you? Are you the effect of a cause, or are you the cause of an effect? And if we are the effect of a cause, then everything that we are responding to in the world is guiding us. It's making decisions for us. We talked about this a little bit on the last episode. And so the question is, can we do this assessment and ask ourselves, how much am I the effect of some kind of cause that I probably am not aware of yet? Your friends, the social media, the culture, the popular ideas that are going around. And I think that what's interesting about this idea is that you can somewhat tell how affected you are by all of these external influences by finding yourself feeling empty when those influences aren't constantly present in your life. For example, the average person looks at their phone at least 3 or 400 times a day. Now, that's probably low. It's probably more like 1,000 times a day. But they're looking for prompts from the environment. Everybody's looking for a prompt from somebody. That kind of means that you're not actually being your original authentic self. And so, as a result of that, the preparation of you learning how to be the person that you came into this world to be is missing. And what you're feeling is the emptiness of that authentic identity that's just waiting to be installed. It's a new program that's waiting to be installed in you by, let's just call it the grand operating designer, the great software engineer of all things. That identity is waiting to be installed in you, but you got to step back long enough to see that you are allowing yourself to be drawn through life, dragged through life, pulled through life by external prompts.
Yeah, very good. I It's bad news sells, right? Bad
Oh,
news
yeah.
gets likes. Bad
Right.
news gets views. So
Right.
whether on social media, the news, it's selling bad news. It's selling controversy. It's selling anything that the negative seems to draw people towards. But you have to look at what is that doing to your mind. The more you consume. So I say part of being prepared is being very present to what you're taking in. So there's this balance of, am I addicted to bad news, or am I present to the news and the happenings of the world as a as an awareness. So I'm aware of what's going on and the impact of what could be happening. Yeah, if we're going into a world war, or if, let's look at the economy. If you look at, okay, how you're living life, are you living spending money that is essentially, it's not wise, because you're living, you don't know what's going on in the world. You don't realize there may be a financial virus, a financial pandemic coming your way. And are you prepared for that? Are you are you in some kind of reaction to bad news where now you've stopped, you've shrunk back, you're not living your life, and you've stopped moving forward because of, out of fear? Or are you ignoring what's going on in life and just stay positive, but it's like a rosy colored glasses where you're living life as normal, but life isn't normal right now. If you're half awake, the world we're living in right now is in a very strange place. And to be prepared partly is, what are you allowing into your mind? What's your mental diet? What are you consuming? But also being aware of what's happening in the world so that you can measure up, whether it's financially, whether it's in your fitness, your health. Are you physically prepared for anything? Your health, your fitness, your uh, managing your mental health, or being at the source of your mind's health and being. Partly what you're speaking to is the outflow, or should I rather say the inflow from the external world. Part of being prepared is also preparing the soil of your mind. If you're just throwing debris in there and garbage in there, and then that's creating fear and uncertainty and stirring you up in ways that is actually not preparing you. It's actually undercutting your confidence. You want to be aware, and but not asleep. Something like that.
Yeah, I want to address the concept of intuition because there are scientific studies that show that your gut level reaction is usually right. Now, this is really interesting, but how many people are actually tuned in to their intuition? And because intuition actually should play a much larger role in our lives than, let's say, just planning and looking at the world and trying to assess what you should or shouldn't do. And because that can get really rote. I mean, that almost sounds like people who are in some kind of a mass formation where they watch to see what other people are doing as opposed to having their own sense of things. And the great Louis Pasteur said this: intuition is given only to him or her who has undergone long preparation to receive it. So, again,
Mm,
let's go back to the self discipline aspect of this.
mm,
Life is not for the weak. Zig Ziglar said this: you were born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win. How many people actually take those three components into consideration? Some people do, but at the same time, what they do is they go to a university and they decide that they want to get a business degree. But they're limiting themselves to the area of study that is, whether it's a business degree or becoming a doctor or becoming something else in the sciences. But what about the potential that we have to be shown things in a unique way that nobody else has ever seen? This is where real innovation comes from. You talk about Mark Zuckerberg, who's a strange person, but he was shown something, and look at him. He's a multi billionaire. Same with Steve Jobs, same with Elon Musk. These are self made people. As a matter of fact, some of the most successful people in the history of success are totally self made people. They didn't get a degree somewhere, they didn't let somebody program them to become these top thinkers. They have their own unique way of looking at the world. And so, one more here by Lucius Seneca. He said, "Luck is a matter of preparation meeting opportunity." So, again, let's not throw out the idea that we shouldn't get ready and get some training and study the situations at hand. But at the same time, if we're studying and we're also able to intuitively pick out the things that make sense and discard the things that are not relevant to our own situation. Luck is a matter of preparation, meeting opportunity. The opportunity is there, but most people actually don't see it. The opportunity to get ready, the opportunity to begin a process, the opportunity to take a path. Most people are not ready for it. And therefore, when it comes their way, they walk right back by it. And so let's go back to discipline. Let's go back to self discipline.
Yeah.
Let's go back to talking about meditating and learning how to discipline the thought processes that are going through our mind every day. That what I call the conscious process of elimination, where you see thoughts and you go, well, where did that thought come from? That's what we got to do. We got to get ready one thought at a time.
I like that, one thought at a time. And letting go of thoughts is a kind of discipline, letting go of thoughts that don't serve you. And but there is something about preparedness that only comes through discipline. I know if today I was talking to this guy the other day, and trains, he trains people in public speaking. And he asked me a question. He said, "Do you have a talk prepared if you wanted to get on a stage and give a talk?" And I said, "No, I've never really prepared a talk. I typically show up for the talk, but I said, but I'm always preparing for a talk, whether I not realize it or not, because to me, the way of living, so it's the discipline in meditation, daily meditation, the discipline of physical movement, your fitness, your mind body fitness, preparing, the discipline of bringing love to your relationships, clearing up. So many people are grappling with they resent, and they're people from their past, or people in their present life. They're holding grudges. They're not talking to siblings. They haven't spoken to one of their own children in years, or whatever the thing. But there's something in preparedness that clean up your past. So much of that past that is what is typically is what's causing the disorientation in the moment, living in the head, living, you know this, David. It's like when you're suppressing a bunch of anger and rage, you're either enraged or outraged, and you're like the jack in the box. You're stuffing down years and years of anger, resentments, blame and fault, or you're either stuffing it down so you're enraged and you're a boiling pot of all this weird emotional chemical concoctions within yourself, or the button gets pressed, you're like the jack in the box, and all what's already in there comes out, and now you're outraged, it's flowing out. But you want to look, anxiety, fear is the same way. It's like you want to clear up your past, get complete with your past, and get clear. Because part of seeing the opportunity and seeing and being about winning in your life, and not winning like win lose, or winning as competition. I think the people you name that are very successful in life, they or have, the word success can be interpreted in a lot of ways, but when we say success, have created things, have accomplished things that are useful to themselves, their families, useful to society. They're not winning against others. That may be happening by default. They may be winning in business, let's say, in outdoing competition, but it's those people typically have their heads down. They're very focused and very disciplined about where they want to move and moving the needle toward what they want to accomplish. If they see opportunity, there's a discipline toward moving toward that opportunity. And part of the discipline is letting go of those thoughts, moment to moment, one thought at a time, the thoughts that don't fit the pattern in which you're moving. And I think the discipline begins in the mind, the being, and then in the spirit, being guided by something higher than yourself. And consider your intuition as a portal. It's from which higher guidance, God, creator, your faith in something greater is communicating, having that line of communication from something higher to the source of strength within you, that intuition that guides you, that shines light on your path and shows you the steps to take. And you have vision, though. You're moving towards something and you're aware of your environment, you're aware of what's happening in the world, but another word that comes to mind is clarity, being clear. So daily you're meditating, you're getting quiet, you're listening. It's like a kind of silent prayer. You're coming out of the thoughts, you're getting present to your body, you're getting present to something higher, something greater than yourself. It's a kind of submission, a humility to something greater. I think people who only function from themselves and they are the captain of the universe, their universe, they're the captain of their ship, and there's nothing greater at work on their behalf. I think those people inevitably crumble when times get very difficult. I think we need to have something greater than ourselves as a part of being prepared for whatever comes our way, whatever shows up in life, partly having faith in something greater and trusting that something greater has your back and it's communicating to you every moment. There's that story. I wrote about this in one of my books. I think you know this story, David. There was a woman, there were these old women that had these two really elderly women. And this is before cell phones and all that. And they just had landlines back then. But this very elderly woman would spend all day with her girlfriend, another elderly woman. And they were like the two, they were in each other's lives and each other's worlds. And they were the only two people they essentially had in life. Everyone else had died off. And so they, from the moment they would wake up, they would get, one of the women would call her girlfriend and they would just stay on the phone line all day from early morning till the moment they went to sleep until they hung up that phone with each other. But here's the thing, that one of the women had bought a lottery ticket, something like a lottery ticket, something like that. And she had won. And they kept calling her to inform her that she had won
Yeah.
this huge amount of money. And, but they always just were getting a busy signal. For a couple of years, they just got a busy signal. So she could never receive another alternative communication
Yeah.
to let her know she won the lottery.
Yeah.
Eventually, somehow they got through to her. They showed up at her front door or something to find out that she had passed away.
Hmm.
But the interesting thing was that I think life's like that. Is the, this higher guidance within you getting a busy signal because you're so busy worrying, you're so busy acting in out of fear and insulating yourself in such a way that, or you're just absorbed with all your internal states, your emotions, your thoughts, the stories, the, and maybe you're just clinging to certain people or certain safe zones in life that you're actually not receiving the messaging that can come through from higher guidance and give you, through the clarity, you see the opportunity and the sets of opportunities that are available in life. And I'll say especially in difficult times, because during difficult times and when you're confronted with challenges, and that's, if that's all you can see, and you're blinded by your own interacting with your own thoughts against these challenges you're dealing with, if that's all you've got, you only see one pathway, and it's typically not a good one. But if you can step back and press pause and drop in on the regular, on the daily, and get still, get quiet, and get in your body, get in nature, get outside of your head and your thoughts, do things that take you out of the head and get you grounded into the present here moment, you have the opportunity to see the same situations in new light. or you see suddenly alternative pathways that were not previously available to you in your seeing, in your vision, to step back and to get clear and to have the discipline to do the things, the practices that create these lines of communication. It requires a level of clarity within oneself, and that takes discipline.
Yeah. Look, I have to reference Elon Musk here
Yeah.
because he's one of the most innovative people on the planet today for one reason. And that reason is because he is not afraid to experiment and learn from failure. Now, this is exactly what Ralph Waldo Emerson said. He said, "Men succeed when they realize their failures are the preparation for their victories." This is a perfect insight because most of us, when we don't get what we want, or when things don't go our way, or we find ourselves unprepared, we get frustrated. Now, frustration is a form of resentment. We could be resentful towards people, but we can also be angry at ourselves. Sometimes I hear people say, "God, I'm so angry at myself." That is a defeat. That is not something that you can actually learn from. When you're angry at yourself, you're actually angry at reality itself. And reality is trying to teach you something. So, going back to what Ralph Waldo Emerson said, men succeed when they realize their failures are their preparation for their victories. It is the conscious process of becoming aware of why things don't work the way we expect them to that paves the way for new possibilities. And look, Elon Musk, he spends a good part of the money that he has to build these spaceships and all the things that he's working on destroying things. Because once the thing is destroyed, they go back and they back engineer it and they see where that went wrong, why it went wrong, what to do right next time. And Colin Powell said the same thing. He says there are no secrets to success. It is a result of preparation, hard work, and learning from failure. And if we can't be objective for a minute, we can never understand why thing one happened and then change it to thing two. Thing one will continue to happen over and over again. And that's one of the definitions of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. If you do the same thing over and over again and you don't change your relationship to what you're doing and why you're doing it, everything will continue to happen the way that it does. And then you'll start to do one thing that's absolutely totally detrimental. You will stop trusting yourself. You'll stop trusting your own instincts. And you'll forget that your intuition is there to guide you beyond the mistakes that you've made before. But without that intuition that we're talking about, without that mental preparation from day to day, that quiet time that you need, that white space that you get away from your influences of your social media, whether it's positive or negative, it doesn't make any difference. You step back long enough to get to that place where there's an opening for that cosmic doorway to the potential that can only come through that portal. And that is that quiet moment where you begin to allow something to influence you from beyond. And we want to call
Mm.
it God, we want to call it spirits, we want to call it angels. Those forces are there waiting for you.
Yeah, it's like a creative force can rise up in the space of clarity.
Yes. Yeah.
If you're not complete with your past, you're holding on to things of the past, stories of the past, stories about yourself, still beating yourself up in regrets, things you did that you should not have done, things that you didn't do that you should have done. If you are harboring these judgments from the past toward self, toward others, you're dragging that around like a ball in the end of the chain. And it's you've built up walls one brick at a time over time, and the work to do is to start giving up those bricks one brick at a time, one brick out, get all the bricks out of your chest. Otherwise at the end of life you've built up so many walls and rocks in your chest. It's dead weight, and you just the rocks are grinding against each other, and you end up with just a bunch of rock dust in your chest, and it's deadening. And that's the air in which you're the energetic spiritual air that you're breathing. And though, to get complete with something, if you're harboring some resentment or judgment toward another, You want to complete that. Whenever we complete something, we flatten it out energetically through forgiveness, through giving things up, letting things go, giving up opinions, giving up judgments, giving up stories, giving up things of the past that no longer serve you in the moment. Or they clutter the moment. It's not only not serving the moment, they clutter the moment. They create this dead weight. But when you complete something, you allow a new space, a new clearing. In that new space are new possibilities, new receiving new guidance, new vision. And it takes that, though, it takes getting complete with your past and being authentic about your past, authentic about where you've been a phony, where you've been nasty, where you've been just harboring judgments and things that you're carrying around, and it's dead weight on you. It's like completing things is a part of being prepared for the in the present and for the future that's coming at you. The future's coming at you. We can control what we can control. You can control your mind, your body, your fitness, your finances, your diet, the things that you can control, you want to take control of. And the things you can, and that will give you a kind of control when things that are out of your control come for you or show up in your life, whatever they are.
That
Yeah,
actually perfectly echoes what Winston Churchill said. You probably never heard this one.
yeah.
He says, "Plans are of little importance, but planning is essential." So again, you could have a perfect plan, but then there are those unanticipated things that you just have no idea what's coming at you. But if you are, in a sense, preparing, getting ready, doing the essential preparation, and your capacity for meeting each moment is getting stronger and stronger, as opposed to depending upon the plan, because that's what people do. They think things are going to be a certain way, they anticipate, they project how they want things to go, and then when they meet a snag in their plan, most people fall apart. They don't know how to deal with it. The idea of the preparation is essential. Here's another great one. Abraham Lincoln said this: "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, I will spend the first four sharpening the axe." Again,
Mm,
it's perfect because the axe is simply a tool. Life is full of personal tools that we can use, moments that are learning moments where you have an opportunity to see something you never would have seen before if you step back and just say, "What happened just now?" Most people don't. Most people are in a totally reactive state, and then the reaction is a domino effect that leads them away from source. What just happened? Why
mhm.
did I act the way I did? How many times you walked away from a conversation wondering if you said the right thing? You know, I hardly ever do, because I know how to address the moment. I've lived my whole life learning how to address each moment as it comes. Now, there are moments that catch me off guard. Those are incredible learning moments. Those are moments where you find something you never would have found if everything had gone just right. You have an opportunity there to step back and do the assessment. What happened? Why did it happen? How did I deal with it? Was there a better way? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, it's very good. It's very good. Again, preparation, being personally prepared for the opportunities that want you, the opportunities in life that are looking for you, the people, the projects, the communities that you want in your life, for your life, that fulfill on who you are becoming and who you want to be. As Shakespeare said, we know who we are and we know not who we could be. But there's something about preparation that, in a way, having a plan, even when you don't know where you're going, that actually you're now a clearing and attraction for the things you want, because you're living it in those moments when nobody's looking. You're living who you want to be now, here now, and you have a vision. I don't always have a vision for the future, but I have a sense. There's a sense of direction. Something's pulling me, something's calling me, fulfilling on a calling. I know a key calling for me is that people experience something greater than themselves. And I'm one of those people. So around me, people experience something, even just having conversations like this. For those who hear something in this kind of conversation that leaves them doing some thinking that can lead them to something bigger, something greater than the self they are right now. But these conversations also open up that same portal for me, that same pathway of around me, people experience something greater than themselves. And I'm one of those people that's experiencing something greater than myself. The self that showed up to this mic today, the self that I'm becoming. But it's for all of us to get clear, what is the essential calling you have in life? Or you know that there's a place where you are, you know who you are, you're not satisfied. Give up making it bad or wrong or give judgment, because that only keeps you having more of the same. But it's actually bringing the discipline to the small moments in life. You know what to do. You know the difference between right, wrong. When you're doing things that take you often a path that you don't want to go down, okay, you start going down that, turn back, get back on to your true north. It takes discipline. It doesn't happen by default. It takes something showing up and creating these lines of communication to this higher intuition, to creator, to this vision of the future, the vision that you're moving into in your life and for your family and for the people closest to you, extending out into greater community, people you work with, people, your peers, your employers, your employees, whoever is in your world. You're showing up in such a way that you're growing into a future that's true. You're continually truing up to who you want to be and who essentially you are meant to be in this life. I think it's something we essentially are born with, some kind of higher calling from our essential self. You
Yeah,
see it like that?
I do.
Does that
And
make sense? Yeah.
again, most of these really powerful quotes that I'm looking at today totally validate what you just said. And here's one from the great comedian Johnny Carson. He said, "Talent alone won't make you a success. Neither will being in the right place at the right time unless you are ready. The
Mm.
most important question is, are you ready?"
Mm. Yeah, when
And
you're
so,
ready
yeah,
now, when you're ready now, and you're ready right now, and you're ready right now, just a series of now moments when you're living ready, not because you're lucky or not just because you have a positive attitude, but you're doing the work of prepping the soil of mind, body, being, spirit, and then life shows up for you.
yeah, it reminds
Yeah.
me of a carpenter's saying, because I started out building houses when I was in my teens. And they always told me, measure once, cut twice. That means that you
Mm-hmm.
better measure it a couple of times to make sure that your measurement is right. And then,
Mm-hmm.
and see, that's the whole idea, is that even that little bit of preparation of measuring it twice, just to make sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you see, the average person misses those measure twice moments. And then they go, oh my God, I made a mess. See, the idea is that we are all impatient to get things done, right? We're all impatient to have what we want. We all have are driven by self gratification at some level. And so the self gratification aspect of it is it makes us miss some of the most important moments of whether or not that the impulse that we're acting on will actually, first of all, produce the result that we think it will. And a lot of times, if you just look at things objectively for a moment, I told somebody one time, I was introduced to a famous model, and I saw that this woman had an attraction to me, and I said, let me tell you something. Let's just do a little thought experiment. Imagine that you and I have a relationship and then we end up getting married, and let's take it 10 years into the future. Think about it. Ultimately, what you think about me right now will meet with some kind of failed expectations. You'll end up resenting me and will probably end up in a divorce. See, this is a thought experiment that people need to do. You need to actually look at what the possibilities are. And here is what Dale Carnegie says about that. He says, first ask yourself, what is the worst thing that can happen? Then prepare to accept it, then proceed to improve on the worst. But if you
Yeah.
don't do that, if you don't do that, then you're going to encounter something and you're going to be daunted by it and you're going to end up being angry with yourself. All these domino effect of things and negative things will happen because the positive things weren't set in motion. Just the first measure once, cut twice thing is what happens, as opposed to making sure, just look at it, just observe it, just step back a little bit, and you'll see that there's something maybe that you missed.
Yeah.
That's
Very
the
good. Very
bottom line.
good.
Yeah.
I think it's a perfect place to wrap up.
Yeah.
And I'll just add this to that is preparing for the worst. Yes. Not from fear. Preparing because you see it's a wise thing to do. There's a quote, I'll leave it on this, is Kobe Bryant, the basketball player, was being interviewed, and the interviewer said to Kobe, he said, most of the great athletes, they're either playing to win or playing not to fail.
Mm,
And he said, which out of those two do you play from? And Kobe said, I don't play from either. He said, because if I'm playing to win only, he said, that narrows my vision. And it's in reaction to something, like I have to win. It's in reaction to something. So I'm being reactive. He said, if I'm playing not to fail, he said, that's also a reaction to something within me, is to not lose, don't fail. And he said, but that blinds me. He said, I play in the moment and I look for the windows of opportunity and I just go for it.
mm,
So I think that's it. It's the question we're left with, and I think we'll leave everyone with is, from where are you preparing from? You're
mm,
preparing from fear, if you're preparing from any kind of lack or to avoid lack or to avoid failure, or you're preparing to only succeed and conquer and win to prove something to yourself or to someone. I don't, those are reactions, and reactions never go well. So can you see what there is to do and then bring the discipline and just do the thing? And as Emerson said, do the thing and you will have the power. All right, David. Thank you. Everyone, thank you. Stay blessed, stay safe, spend time with loved ones, bring discipline to your life, discipline of something, not as discipline like a burden, but the discipline is the love of something bigger and something that you're growing into. All right, David, thank you. Please share the show, you all. Thank you for listening. If you've gotten this far into it with us, share the show. It's how we grow the show, through your sharing of it. And peace out.